Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy, also known as ETCG1. I just forgot to change my hat, but one thing I'm not forgetting is, hey, if it is your birthday, happy birthday. Please enjoy this digital cake I got for you. I'm not happy today, and I don't normally go on these rants. Well, every once in a while I go on a rant. I guess we all got a vent. But today, freaking had enough. I'm gonna say it, MOOG sucks. You absolutely suck. And this is why. All right, so I'm working on my 2012 Honda Odyssey, did major service, timing belt, water pump, replaced the power steering rack because, well, it always had kind of a knock in it every time I'd go over bumps. Anyway, that's not what this is about. Before I went in to replace that, about a year ago or whatever, I had an alignment done on the van, and this is the rear back here. And you can see that the rear camber back here is out, particularly on the left-hand side. And, well, unfortunately, on these Hondas, that is not an adjustable angle. You can adjust toe, so I could get rid of this little red line, but not this one up here. In order to do that, I needed to get some adjustable upper control arms for the rear so that I can move things around. You could say, why didn't Honda do that to begin with? The answer to that is always cost. Always, always. Why didn't they do that? Because it costs more to make a part that's adjustable than it is just to make one and stick it in there. That should be good for the life of the vehicle. Bushings got worn, whatever. Anyway, I'm cambered in a little bit. Not a lot, but I'm kind of a perfectionist with my vehicles, especially one my wife drives that is oblivious to all this stuff. So I try to make the thing tip-top so I don't have to worry about it. I'll only pull it in once every couple of years, whatever, and do some real work to it, and then I give it back to her, and away we go. But anyway, so I bought some of these adjustable upper control arms from MOOG. And the reason I got the ones from MOOG is because they were the only ones I could find with Zerk fittings. And Zerk fittings are those grease fittings for the ball joints, because I looked up the reviews on all the other ones that did not have Zerk fittings on the ball joint, and they failed within a year. So in other words, if you can't lubricate the ball joint, it's a good chance that it's gonna wear out and you'll be back in the same boat. So I wanted something that was serviceable. The only one I could find was MOOG, and I looked, because I hate MOOG. I really freaking do, and today proves it. Now, this is the part number that I'm talking about. Hopefully that shows up somewhere in there. Anyway, so I go to try to install this, and it says even in the instructions, check to make sure that the length of the control arm that you're putting in is similar to what you're taking out. So try to match up the length. Well, I did just that. I went so far as to actually run the bolt through both eyelets to make sure that the ball joint was located best place possible. Well, I ran this thing all the way in, and as you can see by this photograph, it's too long. Now, that makes it so that I can't even put it back to stock, and it's out. And I've already gone through and just about taken the control arms out of this. Well, I already took one out, obviously. I had the other one ready to come out. This is not the first time. And let's go back, and I hate to bring this up, and I wish this was buried into history forever, but let's talk about my welded ball joint. Also MOOG. And everybody wants to yell at me for welding that ball joint in. I get it. And that's on me for welding it in there. But this is after going to 4 different local parts stores, finding ball joints. The only ones that I could find were MOOG, and that was the part number, and each and every one did not fit inside the bore. And that's not the only instance. There's been other instances where I've tried to use MOOG parts, but they just don't fit. It's called quality control. Like, make sure your parts are actually gonna work before you throw them in a box and sell them to people, before you waste my frickin' time. Sick of it. I'm totally sick of it. And I got completely blamed for that whole welded ball joint thing. Fine. Like I said, that's on me. If you wanna know the truth, I actually did a premium member video where I did what I could to get the welded ball joint out of that control arm as compared to the Preston, and it was harder to get my welded ball joint out. Now, I should have said in that video that that was a temporary fix. My point in even bringing that up is I get thrown under the bus. Well, I'm the one that welded the ball joint, but I spent half a day, wasted more than half a day, trying to find a part that would actually fit. MOOG is not doing that. I was gonna make a video for you on this. You didn't get a video on this because, like I said, I couldn't find one of these without a Zerk fitting. I figure, I am not that far out. Not far enough out to where I'm really gonna care right now, and I'm not seeing abnormal tire wear or anything, but I'm pissed. I'm pissed that I went through all this effort, and I'm here yelling at you for it, which you didn't do anything. I hope you're entertained by it, but you know, F you, Moog. Seriously, I'm sick of you. You suck. You absolutely suck. You care nothing about your customers. You care nothing about your products, because if you did, you wouldn't do this crap. You'd actually make something people could use. You'd actually make something good. You're making junk that doesn't even fit. So screw you, Moog. All right. It's been a couple of weeks since I shot the first part of this video, and I'm sure some of you may be curious about what happened with this whole thing. How did it all work out? How did I solve the problem? I did end up installing those upper control arms in the rear. I needed to get that adjustment. And by the way, this happens to these Odysseys because the springs, as they get old, will sag a bit. And as a result, the rear wheels will start to camber in. So this is an issue, something you might deal with. And I'm sorry I didn't make a video on the replacement of all that stuff. But what I ended up doing was cutting about 1/2 inch out of each one of those turnbuckles. And that's what I'm left with, is what's here. I'll throw some pictures up on the screen of how I accomplished that. And that seemed to do the trick. Now, as an added measure, when I got everything all on the van and in place and tightened down and everything was aligned, which the alignment is good now, everything is green. But what I did was I came back and I put just a couple of really small tack welds on those nuts just to make sure that they didn't go anywhere, because I just feared that if they did come loose, it would be an issue. And that'll be really easy to remedy if I ever go to adjust it again in the future. And if you've been keeping up with the stuff that I did to the Honda Odyssey, you also know that I had a little bit of a fight with one of those cam bolts back there as well. So I had a little bit of fun with the rear suspension on the Odyssey over a couple of week period. Anyway, I took that amount out of that center section and threaded it all back together. And here's another important note. When I put everything back together, all the empty threads that I had, I tried to make sure that those were on the inside, the part that attaches to the body of the van. And the reason I did that was because the lock nuts, where that control arm attaches is somewhat recessed inside the body, and it's very difficult to get a wrench on that lock nut. So I left those threads to move that lock nut up far enough to make it more accessible so that it could be turned. Anyway, after doing this and fighting with the lower control arms and the cam bolts, that video will be linked in the description. I took it back to the alignment shop. They were able to line everything up, and everything is good now. So all is right with the world. But my point is, I shouldn't have to go in and do this. Now, if I was an average Joe that didn't have the ability to modify this part to make it work properly, you know, I'd be kind of screwed. I'd go through all the trouble of putting these on the back of my van. I'd take it back to the alignment shop to get it aligned, only to find out that now maybe it's out the other way. Maybe it's cambered positive. And, you know, now what do? Do I get another one? You know, all those types of things. So it's one of the reasons I put this out. I don't really like calling out companies like this, but this is egregious and habitual. I mean, to me, in my mind, why can't you, when the part comes in from wherever you had it made, can't you pull one out of a box and check it against the specs and make sure it's correct? I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to weld ball joints in. And once again, that wasn't something I had to do. That's something I did. But the point is, if you get a part, I think it's reasonable to expect that it's going to fit the application. There we have it. Anyway, how about you in the audience? What issues have you had with parts? I mean, have you experienced similar things? Is there a particular company that you're having trouble with? Is there a particular company that's awesome that you never have trouble with? A lot of times I install original equipment parts because of this, but it wasn't available in this case, and this is the direction I went. But anyway, I'd love to hear about your experiences, you there watching this video. But anyway, I will close out this little segment and send it back to you, Angry Eric. Anyway, rant over. Automotive questions, eric@thecarguy.com. Hope it was entertaining for you. Like I said, not yelling at you, and I accept full responsibility for my actions. But you push me to the brink, Moog. Push me to it. Screw you. Anyway, be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Share the video with the world. See what they think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.